Good morning, everybody from Anderson Forge. I feel compelled to do this little video, and like always, I talk too much. And I'm drinking coffee, and I'm just getting a lot of stuff done here today. But I gotta talk about this knife. Firstly, I'll say I find myself lucky enough to be a member of a group a family that's literally worldwide at this point, thanks to our, some of our modern technologies. We're able to communicate and deal with people all over the world, and many of them are able to become friends. We help each other, and others help us, and I've received help from so many people I couldn't even begin to mention. And I've had the opportunity to have this exchange of ideas and techniques and stuff with a fellow named Steve Grosvenor of Red Rock Tools in South Dakota. And I'll say this, I find Steve to be a very unheralded, below the radar knife maker. He's just exceptional, okay? And some time ago, conversation led around to some things he does, and 2 years ago, by the way, there's RR, that's his logo. Looks the same either way, right? Because it's RR, Red Rock Tools. He walked up to me at the blade show 2 years ago and handed me this fillet knife. Look at this thing. I just went and measured it, and this is about 92 or 3 thousandths right here, and it tapers down to it disappears is what it does, which a lot of people think it's like softness is flex or something. No, fillet knives are fully hard, but this is like what makes a journeyman smith knife and a master smith performance knife bend. It's geometry. I'm bending the snot out of this thing. I'm really putting the bend to it, yet remains perfectly straight. See, it's because it's hard and it's tempered. Anyway, he gives me this knife with this sheath, and I'm off balance a little bit, and I accept it, and it's all fine and wonderful. Parkerized 52-100, light and slim. I mean, you almost don't even know you have it in your hand. Well, anyway, the most of the fillet knife work I would have need for is smaller. I lightly use the word wilderness, but backcountry canoeer, and the majority of the fishing I'm going to do is when I'm very remote. I'm living out of my pack that I carry on my back in a canoe, etc. For example, and I'll just elaborate on this just a little bit. Just returned from a trip where went to a camp on the Minnesota-Canadian border, and then took what they call a tow, where your canoe literally gets put on a rack on a boat, and with imagine this, a 25 horse motor. That's a limit on this particular lake till you get to the edge of it, and then after that it's canoe paddle only. But me and my canoe partner got on this boat with our canoe and gear, and we drove wide open a 25 horse motor for a half an hour. It was a 30-minute ride, and then we get out and we canoed in another 15 miles one direction, and we're carrying all our gear and stuff, and it's almost like lightweight backpacking, where you not only need gear that is, don't want to call it heavy duty, because heavy it's wrong. It needs to be very versatile, rugged, yet be small and lightweight, because weight and size is at a premium on these trips, because you're carrying everything. 2 trips across a portage from one lake to the next, you carry a pack and food, and you go back and get a canoe and more gear. So this knife, and as well, I'll point out the fish that I'm going to be cleaning that I want to eat are the 2 and 3 pound northern, that are only going to be say, here's this knife, but the northern I'm going to clean are only this wide. Or walleye, or the smallmouth bass are excellent eating in the northern cold waters. So I told Steve this was a little big. This year, he walks up to my table in Atlanta and gives me this. I want you to look at the sheath. Look at the sheath on this. Tooled, dyed, nice belt loop, and he gives me this thing. It is so light and delicate. Once again, our extreme flex on these things. Parkerized, little thumb ramp here for when you're working. It's just so ergonomically perfect for the task. I can't compliment Steve enough on this, which again is Steve Grosvenor, Red Rock Tools, South Dakota. So, mosaic pins, for crying out loud. Mosaic pins. So anyway, he walks up and gives me this thing. So I'm humbled once again. I take this thing to this camp on the border in the Boundary Waters, and we spend the night because we're hitting this half-hour boat ride first thing in the morning. So we rent this. It's just a bunk. It's just a little bunkhouse, and next door there are 6 guys who are also there the same night, leaving the same day. We get to talking because there's nothing else to do in fish camp the night before most of the times. I'm drinking coffee, pardon me. So we get to know each other, and they learn that I'm a knife maker. Well, I don't have, you guys know what kind of knives I make, and I don't have one of those on this fishing trip, except I also make another line of knives that are full tang, kydex sheath, parkerized belt knives, little camp axes, and that sort of thing. I had one of those, and then I said, wait a minute, I got something else. So I went over to my bunk and brought this knife. I mean, you can see this is just a relaxed fit. Look at the absolute perfect length on this blade. Perfect size on the handle. You don't hardly even know you got it in your hand. So I take this knife and I went over to these guys and I showed them this knife, and they all just oohed and awed it. They loved it. First thing I did when they picked it up was their eyes would just bug out and say, my God, it doesn't weigh anything. And it's because literally, I don't even know if you guys can see how thin this thing goes, but it goes about 90 thousandths to somewhere about in here. It's like 30 thousandths of an inch. It's 52-100, parkerized. Spectacular knife is all I'm going to say. Performed flawlessly. I'm honored to have it in my canoe gear. And Steve Grosvenor, Red Rock Tools, South Dakota, you guys, and he makes a lot of, not just fillet knives. I'm saying the guy's versatile, and his attention to what he does rivals anybody I've ever known. So anyway, give Steve a shout. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. This thing's going to ride with me for years. Thanks.